Hey everyone! So, if your business makes anything unique, I'm talking custom furniture, a one off software build, even a complex legal case, you're always up against this one huge question: what did that specific job really cost me to do? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on job order costing. It's the system designed to give you that exact answer.
Let's just make this real for a second. Imagine you're a luthier, a guitar maker. You sell this absolutely beautiful, handcrafted guitar for $2,000. Wow, that feels like a huge win, right? But once you subtract the obvious stuff, the wood and the hours your artisan put in, how much did you actually make? That simple sounding question is, believe me, a lot harder to answer than you'd think.
And right there, that question, that's what I like to call the custom job profit puzzle. It's this challenge that, honestly, every single custom business has to solve if they really want to know if they're winning or losing.
The funny thing about this puzzle is that some pieces are just lying right there on the table. It's super easy to track the cost of the wood, that's a direct material, and you can definitely track the hours your expert builder worked, that's direct labor. But what about all the other stuff? The rent for the workshop, the supervisor's salary, the electricity to run the tools, even the glue holding it all together. These are the sneaky, indirect costs that can just eat away at your profits without you even realizing it.
The good news is, accountants figured this puzzle out a long time ago. And the solution really starts with understanding that there are two totally different ways to think about cost accounting. Each one is built for a different kind of business. So on one side, you have job order costing, which is our focus today. It is tailor-made for unique, one-of-a-kind things like our custom guitar or a movie production, where you track costs for each specific job. Then, on the other side, you've got process costing. That's for factories just churning out thousands of identical items, like cans of soda or bags of cement. There, they just average the cost across everything. But for custom work, trying to average costs is a recipe for disaster. You need precision. Okay, so how do we actually build the true cost of our guitar? Let's take it step by step, and we'll start with the two easiest pieces of our puzzle, the direct costs. First up, the materials. Every single time the guitar maker needs a piece of mahogany or a set of strings for our specific guitar, they fill out this document. It's called a materials requisition form. Just think of it like an internal shopping list or a receipt. It's what links the cost of those exact parts directly to this one job. No guesswork involved. And the exact same logic applies to our other direct cost, labor. The artisan fills out what's called a job time ticket. It's just a simple record of exactly how many hours they spent sanding, shaping, and finishing our guitar. So, just like the materials form, this ticket connects their wages directly to this one job. And just like that, boom, our direct costs are locked in. All right, but that was the easy part. Now we've got to face the real monster in the closet. Overhead. How in the world do we fairly assign a little slice of the factory rent, the manager's salary, and the power bill to this one single guitar? So let's get super clear on what we mean by this term. Manufacturing overhead is just a bucket for all the factory costs that aren't direct materials or direct labor. It's all the stuff you can't easily point to and say, that belongs to Job 101. We're talking about the glue, the sandpaper, the electricity for the lights. It's all absolutely essential, but it's all overhead. So you might be thinking, why not just wait till the end of the month, add up all the actual bills, and divide it by how many guitars we made? Well, there are two massive problems with that. First, overhead costs are all over the place. Your heating bill is going to be way higher in January than it is in July, right? And second, the bills show up too late. You can't wait till next month to figure out how to price a guitar you need to sell today. You'd be totally flying blind. And this is where the system gets really, really clever. The solution is something called the predetermined overhead rate. The idea is brilliant, and it's simple. Before the year even begins, you estimate your total overhead costs for the whole year. Then you divide that by your total estimated activity, like maybe the total number of hours your crew will work. And that calculation, it gives you one single stable rate that you can use to apply overhead costs to every single job all year long. It smooths everything out. Here's how it plays out in 3 simple steps. First, way at the start of the year, you calculate that rate. Second, as you work on jobs all year, you apply the overhead using that rate. So, if your rate is, say, $10 per labor hour, and a guitar takes 5 hours, you apply $50 of overhead to it. Simple as that. Finally, at the very end of the year, you compare what you applied to what you actually spent, and you make a small adjustment. Okay, we did it. We've gathered all 3 pieces of our puzzle. We've got the direct materials, we've got the direct labor, and now we have our applied overhead.
It is time to put them all together and see the final picture on the job order cost sheet. And here it is, the big reveal. This is the job order cost sheet. This is the master document, the command center for one single job. And you can see how it pulls everything together. You've got the direct material costs from those requisition forms, the direct labor from the time tickets, and finally our applied overhead. We just add them all up to get the total cost, and for making more than one, we can divide to find the true cost for each one.
Now, this little chart here kind of zooms us out to see how it all fits into the bigger accounting picture. Our cost sheet, that's the beating heart of what accountants call work in process. You can literally see the journey a cost takes. It starts as raw materials, then it flows into work in process where our cost sheet tracks everything, and finally, when that guitar is finished, its total cost moves over to finished goods, ready to be sold. So, we've gone through all this work just to find a number, a single number. So why? Why does it matter so much? How is knowing this true cost an actual game changer for a business?
Let me tell you, this number is power, pure and simple. When you know your true cost, you can stop guessing at prices and you can start building in profit. You can actually look at your work and see which jobs are your cash cows and which ones are, surprisingly, losing you money. You can bid on new work with total confidence. This isn't just bean counting, it's about making smarter business decisions, period. And hey, remember that little adjustment I mentioned at the end of the year? Well, this is it. It's called a true-up. You just compare the total overhead you applied to jobs using your estimate with what you actually spent. If you applied a little too much, no big deal, you make a small adjustment. If you applied a little too little, you make a small adjustment the other way. It's just a tiny tweak to make sure your financial statements are perfectly accurate. So in the end, job order costing gives you this incredibly powerful number, your true cost. It's the rock-solid foundation for smart pricing and real strategy. But, knowing your cost, that's only the first step. The next, and honestly, the much harder question, is deciding its true value. So I'll just leave you with that to think about. Now that you know what your work costs, what is it truly worth?